Everything is working. Okay, everyone. Welcome. Special welcome to Alex. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I came to you through Mark Otten. Some of the people listening to this or watching this might know him. And that's our connection, and that's how you ended up here. And as you said, there's a couple of coaches of mine who are coaches of yours as well. So can you tell the people briefly what you do?
What I do. Is this also where it all started for me?
No, just tell what you do now. What people could know you from.
What people could know me from is my sort of alias Mixed by Vasi, probably. But it's in the background of the music scene. Okay. I do a lot of mixing, mastering. That's my... that's where all my time goes to. Yeah. Sort of. Amazing. And 20% of that is producing, too. And next to that, I do coaching with Mark Otte. So we coach people who make music, and we do a deep dive in their music career. Okay. And so sort of what you do, but we dive more into the music. You're more into the music production process, where we are more focused on the business side and the mental side of things. Okay. And you mentioned that 20% of the time is music production itself. Is that for yourself, or is it co-production, or? Co-production and for myself. Okay. But for myself, I never knew, like, I have background in classical music and metal, the hardcore, dance, progressive house, normal house, and nowadays in the urban. So if it's about me, Alex Vasi, then I'm not sure what I want to do. That's quite a variety of styles. Yeah, exactly. So artistically, I'm not sure yet, but I do a lot of production stuff for others, which is, to me, way easier and fulfilling. I don't want to... Well, I do DJ too, but I wouldn't want to be Chesto or whatever. That's not my... Okay. Oh, we'll get to that later on. Let's first get started with like an introduction of what you've done and how you came where you are now. When did you get started with music? Music since I was a little kid, actually. My dad's a musician. He's a guitar player and singer. So and that's his main job. Oh, it's actually making a living from it. Cool. Yeah. Famous guy, or is it more like on the background? On the background, yeah. Okay. He was the guitar player for Marco Borsato, for the Dutchies in here. He did Lee Towers, that kind of... Nice. That kind of stuff. So, little different route than I did. But, from kid, my 4-year older sister is a piano player, classically trained at the conservatory in Den Haag. So... I had to do something in the family because music was the number one thing. Yeah. So I chose violin. Violin. I actually I studied violin for 4 years at the conservatory in Den Haag. Okay. And after that was not my scene. That is not at all. To me, that's one of the most beautiful instruments, to be honest. Until you have to practice 4 hours a day. I wouldn't know. I can assume, but I don't know. Like the violin, saxophone as well, and the piano. Saxophone is cool. Yeah, saxophone, violin, and piano are like the top 3 for me. It somehow is an instrument that is perfect to bring emotion or something, to represent emotion. 100%. Yeah. That's what I totally agree. From music production inside, I would rather have been playing the piano, because that would be a bit more handy while making music. So everything's done with the piano and music production. Yeah, so it is what it is, but my music theory is there, so I'm okay.
So
I'm okay.
you started
Oh.
pretty early with playing an instrument, and what then? Like you went to school, and then?
Hammer Brood Academy.
Okay.
Mark Olton was actually my teacher back then.
So your
That's
boss-ish was your teacher.
my co-worker, my
Yeah.
colleague.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
Your colleague
It's his
was
brand
your...
name. So yeah.
And
Yeah.
how did you end up at Herman Brood? As in, did you do, like you also did conservatory?
Yeah. Well, back in the days, that was when I was pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
That was the I don't know how to say it in English. It's a difficult word.
What's the
with
Dutch word?
schoolings. Vooropleiding.
Pre-education?
Ja, voor het HBO.
Honestly, don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was pretty young, and then I went to normal school with normal people, and I started playing guitar and stuff. And after that, back then, when we were 16, we were allowed to go out to clubs.
Yep.
And
16.
friends of mine, 16, and drinking and
Yeah.
stuff, crazy days,
Yeah.
but not more on that. Back then, friends of mine started to work at a club at 16, promo team kind of stuff, and I did that too. And then that was the first time I saw a DJ, and I was like, "That's what I want to do."
Uh-huh.
But playing other music from others is nice, but after a year or so, you start to think like, if you're in music that long, at least to me, I wanted to do my own stuff.
It's funny how that works, because that's what I get from a lot of music producers. That once you start DJing, that after a period of time, you just feel like, okay, I it's nice, but I kind of want to bring my own stuff to the table.
Yeah,
it's funny 100%. How that works. It's a general thing we all have.
Well, I do know some DJs that are fully just only DJ and love what they do, but like the interest, like in a year or so, like the trick gets boring of doing what you need to do behind the decks, because to be honest, I'm scratching sometimes, but it's just for fun, and it's not real skill behind it, but like that's it.
And especially these days, the CDJs kind of do all the work.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's programming the set in your head. That's where the fun is. But in the end, if you do that 100 times, then
how old are you now?
29. Turning 30 in December.
Okay.
And lots of gray hairs already. So.
Are you afraid of 30, or do you think it's exciting?
Yes, very, very much.
Oh, really?
So, I think when I wake up on the 8th of December, I'll cry, something like that, because it feels like I had a coaching session with somebody else, no name dropping or whatever. It's not in our coaching program, but I had a talk with someone, and she was 16, and she was scared that she wasn't gonna make it before she was 18, because after that your life ends. I was like, that's not really how the world works, but you'll see eventually. But that might be the same thing for me.
Yeah, don't you think 30 is kind of the same thing, and 50-year-old people tell you the same thing?
Yeah. So, it is what it is.
Honestly, I think 30 is the sweet spot, man. Everything between your 30 and your 50s is the sweet spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, until you're 50.
Yeah, and probably when you're 50, like 60 becomes a sweet spot because you get grandchildren or whatever. I don't know, but life's fun. You make it fun yourself.
100%.
Let's talk about the job that you're doing right now. You mentioned mixing, mastering. You mentioned music production, coaching of music producers.
My mom's a teacher. So I had to choose music or teaching, and so
it became both. You're the perfect product of your parents.
I think so. My parents tell me that, so it better be true. Yeah.
So how let me find it. Like, what's the most common mistake you see with your clients when they come in?
Ooh, this is yeah.
Like
I'm repeating
like
myself
maybe
a
a
lot of
rookie
times.
mistake or something. You feel like, okay, this is something most of the producers do, which really isn't necessary, or
The rookie mistake that I see most is that's probably gonna be starting out watching tutorials and trusting them and not trusting yourself, just educating yourself first.
Yeah.
Or just learn the lessons that they teach you, but don't. If anybody tells you you always have to do this, don't trust them. Sorry.
Yeah, and why is that?
But that's
Why shouldn't you listen to other people?
you okay, sorry. Whoa, difficult question.
It's my job asking
Ooh.
difficult questions.
I'm always trying to stay objective, so
Mhm.
it's not necessarily you have to trust whatever I say, but there's always more ways of seeing whatever it is that's happening in music production or whatever.
Mhm.
So get the knowledge from someone, try it. If it works for you, nice. But if it's sort of a habit and you're not thinking about it, why you're using whatever, then yeah, just be conscious.
Yeah, be
Of
conscious. I think
what
that's a
you're
good
doing.
one because a lot of things become patterns during the time. You know, if you once you found a great compressor or whatever, you tend to use it for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Once you found a great echo, you tend to use it on everything. So becoming aware
Yeah.
of why are you actually using the plugin, what are you trying, what's your goal with it or something, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
I,
And do you really like it? Or is it because someone else told you, oh, this is super insane. This
Yeah.
limiter sounds so great on every track that exists. Like, is it really? Or just keep listening?
What's something that you've learned over time which you really value at this point?
Ooh. I used to be that guy.
Same.
Well, I was. That the grind is never over, maybe, and that I'm okay with that.
And with the grind, you mean?
Sort of, yeah. The music grind. So learning every day. If something is normal for you, the next day, anything can change. So be aware of that.
Yeah.
And but do you want to be specific? Specific on music production?
You can go wider, you know.
That for creative people, Ableton is the best.
It is though. Like it has a great workflow for creativity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mixing, mastering, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But in the rest, it's
You mentioned you mentioned before when we had like the pre-talk in this afternoon. You mentioned that mixing and mastering is really your strongest point. If I look at most of the artists that I know or that I coach or whatever, or we're kind of getting started, mixing and mastering is the hardest part of music production. How have you overcome that, or how did you become such a mixing and mastering engineer?
Normally I talk down on it a bit because I'm Dutch.
I've heard it. Yeah.
If you do, als je doe maar normaal, dan doe je gek genoeg.
Yeah.
That's a Dutch saying. If you like, the American way is look how good I am.
Yeah.
And that's not the Dutch way. But yeah, I'm going to tell you the truth. I was a pretty good producer back in the days, but I was horrible at finishing music. So I actually did my own research, sort of how to finish songs better.
Yeah.
Like arrangement, that kind of stuff, but also mixing, mastering.
And what does research mean? YouTube tutorials or?
YouTube, Google, asking whoever I met in any studio, everything I could. And on YouTube, for example, it started with Pensado's Place. I don't know if you know
Ben
him,
Saus?
but he's Pensado.
Pensados.
Dave Pensado.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So yeah, he's one of the biggest mix engineers in the world,
Mhm.
and he has his own talk show. And he invites guests that are mix engineers or producers or mastering engineers,
Yeah.
and he does tutorials too.
Okay.
So yeah, I went hard. So if I was in the shower, I had him on. If I was in bed, I had him on until I fell asleep. In the morning, in the
Yeah.
car, in the everywhere.
So simply by
And
listening to that, it's a podcast, right?
yeah,
So simply listening,
sort of.
yeah,
yeah.
videocast, podcast. Simply by listening to that, you learn from it.
Yeah.
And did you also
100%.
apply it immediately? So you sit down behind your computer and use the plugin he was talking about, or actually did the trick that he was talking about?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. So.
Mhm.
It went so crazy that I have all these presets that are remade because somebody in the show said at 45 minutes, like, yeah, normally I use a 50 millisecond attack on the LA 76 compressor and whatever, and I save.
Yeah.
That's mine. So yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it started.
Yeah.
But that was actually the purpose was to do it for my own tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working in a studio in Maasluis. It's a village in the Netherlands, and that's the old DigiDance studios. I don't know if you've ever heard.
Yeah,
of it.
DigiDance is. I actually signed. Good story. I signed my first track there, and then they went bankrupt, and my track was.
Oh,
stuck.
really?
Yeah, never got released there. And then the guy, the manager from Hardwell, moved to Cloud9. Because he was working at DigiDance, and he called me and said, "Hey, I'm moving to Cloud9. I can take your track with me if you want, so we can release it on Cloud9." So that's how that happened. Yeah.
Oh, and that was in the beginning stage of Joey Suki, the artist.
Early years, yeah. Let's say 2005 ish.
What's the song called? Are we going to give feedback now, or?
Oh, you can give feedback. It's called Bomb with a Bassjackers remix, actually.
Okay, I'm gonna save it, and I'll
The bass
after
Bomb
this
with
I wanna
double
listen
M.
to it.
So BAMM. And then Bassjackers remix and
Bam in Dutch.
Yeah.
Bam. Joey Suki Bam. Yeah, with a Bassjacker and Kessler remix.
Yeah, Kessler's my nephew. Well, my how do you call, like, second nephew, or how do you call that? Achterneef. Yeah, I don't know. Back
cousin.
But yeah, that's
some words are hard.
Yeah, exactly.
In English. Yeah.
But I would like to go back to the mixing mastering process, because in your background I can see a cover of a song which is Crisscross with Man, right?
Yeah.
Which track's that? Moon. Yeah.
Hij is van mij.
Oh yeah,
he's from me.
He's from me.
It's a Dutch song that went platinum. I don't know how many times.
And what's your role in that? Or is it just that?
My role is a little co-production, but they screwed me out of the contract. And
nice.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And mixing and mastering.
Okay, so that's what you do as well, like do for other people, mixing and mastering. Yep. Nice. And
That's actually my biggest job now. Yeah.
Yeah, biggest chunk of it. And how do people reach out to you? Like, how do they find you? What's that?
Actually, I have no clue how they find me. Well, it's either through labels because they know me, and actually, my first job ever was Ronnie Flex. My studio neighbor was the producer called Boas van de Beat.
Yeah.
Then I don't know anybody heard it, but he does ghost productions for Diplo and productions for Diplo.
He's a big guy.
Big guy, and he did everything for Ronnie Flex, who's an urban artist. And I was his neighbor, and he said, "Hey, you like to let me say it nicely, go crazy on EQs, right? Yeah. Do you want to engineer the Ronnie Flex album? Yeah, of course. So I just said yes, and that album won 80
Yeah, it's kind of a Grammy for Dutch
It's
people.
Grammy for Dutch people. Yeah. So that was my first job, and then I was the big engineer
The
that
big
nobody
shot,
heard
yeah.
of, because I really didn't do any big engineering jobs before.
How long did it take you to
So-
make a living from this?
After the Herman Brood Academy.
Yeah, let's say
that
after
I was-
study, after college, like how long would it take you to make a living from this?
I had a job at Cloud9 after because I'm a pretty nice guy, and people like to hang with me, and people like to give me opportunities.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to work at Cloud9
Mm-hmm.
after I finished the Herman Brood Academy.
Mm-hmm.
That was only a 3-month journey, so I could make a living for 3 months, and after that it was difficult,
Okay.
very difficult. Living with my parents, I think it took me. I did some productions for other people, which made me some sort of money, but I couldn't buy a house or
Yeah.
rent a house, even. Yeah, maybe 12 square meters, but that was going to be it. And I think in the 4th year, I got the opportunity of doing the engineering for Ronnie Flex.
Okay, and
And
when
that's
everything
when-
started.
Everything took off.
Yeah.
I was working at the Herman Brood Academy too, as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually... Is there a Herman Brood guy here?
I don't think
No.
so.
I don't think... They don't know yet, but I quit my job, actually, 2 days ago.
At the Herman Brood?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, now they know.
Well,
Exactly.
scoop. Sorry, dudes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss you.
I left. Well, I guess
But,
that's a good thing, right? Yeah, I guess it means that you can make a living from all the things that you love to do the most. So it makes complete sense.
Yeah. 100%.
To everyone listening right now, if you have a question for Alex, feel free to drop it in the general chat if you want. I will pick a few of those questions in a couple of minutes, and it can be music production related, right, Alex? Or
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, mixing.
I'm in love with synthesis,
Mm-hmm.
sound design, mixing, mastering, any genre of music. I don't care. I love everything
As
in
long as
music.
it's music production related, yeah.
Yeah.
I once had a synthesism masterclass at Rob Papa.
Oh, that's not a bad place to be.
No, I'm not sure if he still does it, but back in the days, you could literally go to his studio, which was, I believe it was his house. He built a basement under his house. And that's where his studio was. So on like a Saturday afternoon, we went there with my back cousin, my nephew.
Yeah.
And we went there for an afternoon, and he just started explaining how synthesis worked and how you could create your own stuff with his, like, what is it, Predator and stuff? His early...
Predator, blue, and some red.
Blue wasn't there yet. I think it was just Predator at that time.
Oh.
Really early days.
2005. 2005?
Yeah, a long time ago. When I was 18 and I thought that was the end.
The end.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
One of
Is there... Where can I see the chat?
there's
Can I
a
see the
chat
chat?
in the left called General Chat. Let me click on it now.
I'm such a noob. Sorry,
There's someone
guys.
typing. One thing that I wanted to ask from C-Trace, he dropped it in the general chat. He sent an image, and I'm not sure if you can see it in the general chat. There's an image of where all the elements should be mixed.
Aha!
You see it?
Is this true? Saw it in a video.
Yeah, so, is it true?
Vocal, snare, kick, bass, mono.
In the middle,
Percussion,
mono.
piano, strings, pads, guitars, synths, effects, background vocals in the sides, and the same thing on the left.
Yeah, is this true, or would you say this is complete horseshit?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
To do it,
Mm-hmm.
but following this to the T is not my general thing, because that's why reference tracks are so amazing always, because there is a time and a place for reference tracks. If you go too early in the creative process and you have a reference track, usually, or what happens to me is I'm remaking the song, which is probably not the best idea, because that song exists already. But in the end, if, for instance, if you listen to the motto with from Chesto, the bass is super stereo. So what's the truth? If you want to have your track sound good on every sort of sound system, it's a good idea to have some sort of guidelines which work.
What's one of the most important things in mixing and mastering? Like some sort of rule that is always the same, like maybe the kick should be mono, for example.
Yes, the kick should be mono, but not because somebody else told you. Like to me, my brain starts working when I hear that stuff, and I want to know why your kick should be mono. But there's a lot of reasons, but the biggest reason is that subwoofers, if you see speakers, 3-way speakers or 4-way or 2-way, like if it says 2-way, you have 2 speakers, so the top one and the bottom one, like my DIN Audios that I have here.
The tweeter and the bigger one, big conus.
Yeah, and the smaller one in the top only plays high frequencies, and the bottom one plays lower frequencies, but they're not big enough to actually produce sub frequencies, and that's something that's natuurkunde, science. So subwoofers is a single cone, one element of being able to produce frequencies.
Longer waves, right? So deep kind of sounding waves.
Deep, longer waves, and usually if you see like every home cinema whatever thing, if it says 5.1, it means you have 5 normal speakers and 1 subwoofer.
Yeah.
Which means if your kick is super stereo or whatever, and you have to make it mono, it usually loses some power, energy, or it just loses something.
So why would
sometimes it's going to be better, sometimes it's not, and usually it's not better. So
and why would a guy like Chesto choose to make his bass stereo? What could be a reason? Have you thought about that?
Because what could be a reason? Well, it sounds like the sound sounds really sort of, to me it sounds natural in some way, and it sounds like it's a sample being played, like either a cello or a flute or whatever. I actually made a track with a flute which doesn't sound like a flute at all. It's a bass line and whatever, because of what I heard in his track.
Okay.
So, but it just gives a certain characteristic and a little more depth.
Yeah.
But I did see that the lowest of frequencies are mono.
Oh, the lowest ones are mono.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the power is still there.
He's using, but there is some stereoness in there, but it still works in mono. That's why you always have to press the mono button just to make sure if it still works.
If it still stands, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm checking out. Tiggy says, "What was the thing that you realized? What was the thing that made you realize you were very good at what you were doing and made you believe in yourself?"
Oh.
So was that like winning an award, for example, or getting approval of your parents? I don't know.
Not at all. It's a super... I can almost get emotional over this question because That's difficult because it's never good enough for me
True
in the
perfectionist.
music industry. True perfectionist, which makes me good at my job because I want to know everything. So I know I'm at a certain level, but still, everybody likes to be told, "Oh, you're so amazing. That's nice," and blah blah. But like the negative comments stay like have more priority in our minds, right?
Yeah,
So
they take up the focus.
but I know for sure I'm good because I did my study and I'm thinking of every decision I'm making and it's all considered and I did my work. So yeah, that's yeah.
But
It wasn't a moment like it's a track on the radio. I was like cool, and then after that it happened so often
so
that
there's never been a moment where you
it's
actually
normal.
realized like, I might be good at this.
Um, it's I think it's getting more and more because in the beginning, I started at this level. It was crazy. I would instantly I was at this level instead of like
Rising.
gradually going there. But yeah, so that was like when I had to do all the work and all the whatever I need to. Yeah, and now I'm getting more and more sure of like my abilities of whatever because I've done it like a million times now.
Do you think the achievements help you to become self-secure?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The plaques on the wall help. Sort
It
of.
does?
Like okay, I did something, at least. So yeah.
Okay.
Which is cool, but it's a never-ending story, music, right? Because there's always something that you can learn or get better at or
True. It's in life in
do
general.
new
You can
stuff.
keep learning.
Yeah.
There's a question from Lubas. First of all, nice to be here, he says. So, what would you suggest to young producers who want to start making money with jobs such as mixing or mastering engineering? Is doing a Fiverr job or how do you start? It's a good question.
Yeah. Really good question. I would not start at Fiverr, but that might be personal. Okay, wait. There is some personal, whatever meaning.
Opinion.
Personal opinion. Sorry. Fiverr because you're number 500. Somebody else already knows how to do the Fiverr game and whatever. I would start with tracks of my buddies. Start there, get your craft going, because what's $10 gonna do for you in the long run, right?
Yeah.
From a Fiverr job,
Not that much.
because you're not starting here, so you gotta start somewhere. So I would say, just in your hometown, whatever, go and hang with the best musicians you have in your hometown, and try to get those mixes to start. So you're building your CV, your discography, sort of. I would start there, and after that, you're more interesting to, actually build a business around that.
I think for mixing and mastering engineers, the most important thing to realize is that the product that you're delivering, so the mixed and mastered track, is your resume. So the better your product is, the more likely it is that people will come to you. And I'm guessing that it happened to you as well. As you mentioned, once labels realize that you are a great mixing and mastering engineer because you keep delivering high quality products, they come back and they start talking about it as well. So I think if you really want to pursue a job as mixing and mastering engineer, get started locally, just start creating products, start putting out stuff and show people how good you are. And that eventually, the only kind of reason how people come to you is mouth to mouth, right? Like through network.
I have a website. There is zero traffic on there.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah,
but I'm fully booked.
Yeah, but imagine like if you were looking for a mixing and mastering engineer, how do you find one through a website, right? You wanna hear how your products sound, how good you are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hopefully that helps.
That's why I have, for the people who want to see what I worked on, I have a Mixed by Vasi playlist on Spotify, and you can see, I want to say all the tracks, but a lot of tracks are not in there because they're just
too whack.
But yeah, yeah. Like in the beginning, not everything is as good as.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So.
2 questions from Jan. What synth is that behind you?
What? Sorry.
The synth behind you. Which one is that?
Behringer, Poly D.
Poly D. Okay. And the second question is, what's your next step or next goal in your career?
Oh, I actually just realized my next step, but I have another step, but I will tell.
Like realized in this call or?
No, a couple days ago.
Okay.
Or days, maybe a week. I don't know. I did a mix and master for a super huge artist from the France.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get my international gigs going.
Nice. David Guetta.
Yeah. No. It's a hip hop artist. He's
cool.
called Veggie Dream.
Okay.
And he has a hit with 300 million streams, something like that. I don't know.
French rap's cool. I like French rap.
Yeah.
One of my.
And my other thing is getting my productions in the market again.
As a solo artist.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm making music every day. At least one new idea every day. I'm trying to put at least I'm making a folder and whatever, and I can go back to those beats I made.
Yeah.
In whichever studio session I'm gonna end up at, so I at least have some music to maybe pass around and. Yeah.
Smart.
So because the love for making music has never died, but it just got a lager pitje.
On the background.
Background.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at background. Yeah.
There's another question from Lubas. Do you have any tips on how I can have a better chance of getting accepted by music labels, or are there things that I have to particularly be careful about?
Sorry, what was the last question?
How can I have a better chance of getting accepted by music labels? And is there anything I have to particularly be careful about? So maybe sending the wrong message in an email or the wrong demo link or whatever.
Can you do wrong things? Yeah, you can be not nice to people. Mm-hmm. That's never a good thing. But in the rest, you gotta sell your dream. That's it. I see people be in the beginning of their career making a lot of music, which sounds okay, but it's not the best ever and whatever, and it's just one track, and they're like, I want to send this to labels. But what are you giving them? Like, what does the label need? What are the other artists are there? Is the only other artist Martin Garrix on that label? And then it's gonna be a pretty small chance that they want to release your music. Do they do a DJ mix every week? Yes or no? If yes, have a DJ mix ready. If you have 10 tracks ready, send one track 1 week. If you don't get a reply, send the next track another week. So it's all humans you're interacting with.
Yeah.
So if I see your name in my email box 10 times in 10 weeks, I'm gonna be firstly annoyed. And after that, I'll start listening to your music. What's this guy about? Okay. And if your music is good enough, at least, or commercial, or whatever you want to, whatever it is, you're super artistry and super cool, could be too. You've got the looks of Justin Bieber, also great.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to contact you. That's just how it works. But have a plan. sort of if you make one song and send it out,
that's
the
not
chances are gonna be super small.
true.
How was that for you?
For me,
Yeah.
well, the funny thing about my job is that I'm telling all the things that I to other people that I would like to have known myself when I got started. So I made all the mistakes that the people are mentioning now as well. But if I look at it now, it's so much clearer to me. And as you said, it's a human's business. The most important thing about the music industry is that you create a network and that people like you. Like you can put a favor in with people. That's the most important thing. They want to give you the favor of X, play here, release there, whatever you want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's only happening to people that they like. And it's not that I've been a big jerk or whatever. Like, I think looking back in hindsight, one of my strongest points was the fact that I'm such a normal, down-to-earth guy.
Bravo.
Yeah, exactly. Like a down-to-earth Bravo guy. That was one of my unique selling points at that time. I just wasn't aware of it. So yeah, talking to people...
Would you have done differently if you did know that?
No, because that's just me. That's just how I am. But what I would have done differently is the strategy behind releasing. I just never really thought about all the things I did. I just did something, and right now it's more like a clearer picture to me of which steps to take in order to become bigger and to grow. To me, looking back in hindsight, a lot of things kind of felt like I was lucky, while I wish it wasn't. I just wasn't aware of what I did.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
That's usually after the fact.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's why I like to do what I'm doing now as a job, like sharing that experience, sharing that knowledge, in order to help other people save time. Simply. Because to me, like I've wasted a lot of time making the wrong decisions or waiting too long for people. Yeah. Well, in the end, it's all about you.
Yeah.
You should be the one.
And for labels, it's always all about them.
Yeah, exactly. That's also one of the things you should realize. I was having a talk with someone else last week in the Discord. He works at Spinnin, and he also said like, one of the biggest things that stuck with him was, it's not personal. As in, it's just a business.
It feels personal.
It feels super personal, but in the end, it's just a business. It's a numbers game, and all the artists tend to make it too personal. Because the product that they're making, the music, the song, is their baby.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with my baby.
That's why I'm trying to make 1 million babies. Because after that, I don't care anymore.
Exactly. Then you just forget about all those babies. Fuck them.
Yeah, exactly. But really, now we're getting to the core of this.
That's a good strategy, man. Just make as many babies as possible so you forget about the first 5.
Yeah, it's a sort of Genghis Khan kind of thing. I don't know if you know it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Alex, we're gonna wrap this up. I wanna thank you a lot for taking the time to do this and share all the knowledge and experience with the people listening.
Thank you guys for the questions too, and for having me, of course.
Yeah, no worries, and thanks for listening to the people who are still here. And I had fun.
We're with the 5 of us, right?
Now the 5, we've been with 7. And after it's going online, there will be hundreds of people listening to this.
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions.
Oh, yeah. And one thing I wanted to add about releasing songs with labels is they're in it to make money. So that's why I said the Justin Bieber look, the whatever. If that's one of your selling points, then sell that to them. And if there is something else, figure out what's you. What you can give to the people. So, because if you have 0 followers and whatever, it's gonna be really tough. So you either have to be the best musician alive, or you have to figure out other stuff too.
True.
It's always complementing each other. So
good. I agree. Thanks,
that was
man.
me rambling.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for this call, and have a good night, everyone.